Greetings and God bless. I was just listening to a video that was recorded a few years ago, and but even so, I've seen videos of uh, people who are homeless and like on the beach in California arrested. But so it's January 2024. However, illegals get to they can be criminals, they can be whatever, and they get to cross our border, they get a free phone, they get benefits tax free. Like I've heard 2,000 a month, I've heard 5,000 a month. uh and yet born and bred Americans are arrested or evicted um from being here, but we're paying illegals from Africa, from China, from Latin America to be here. But Americans who are homeless, mentally ill, addicted, are persecuted. Does anybody see anything strange about that? Does anybody see any problems with that? I mean, like all this effort and money is put into, for instance, the alphabet community. But if we look at the number of people who are affected, who are wanting to have a sex change at the age of 1 years old, that's a really small minority of people. But yet, all the effort, all the just everything is pushing that. If you're going to school board meetings, or the government is hiring trans people to be the head of the military or something like that. Like, it's just this, it's insanity, it's stupidity. But yeah, does anybody see like an issue that we're paying illegals to cross the border illegally? They're not going through the proper channels. I mean, there's like 20, like almost 30 different places you can cross the border legally, but NGOs are, and like the Red Cross are telling people how to cross illegally. And that's just this whole mess that whoever's in the sanctuary city is going to have to deal with. And the thing is, a lot of people are like, well, it doesn't matter to me because I live in the suburbs, I live in a gated community. But what you're doing when you're pushing for this illegal situation, or you're pushing for this critical race theory, BLM, defund the police, DEI, anti-white rhetoric, like it endangers those who don't live in a gated community, who don't have a car to insulate themselves from the mess you create. Because what this liberal agenda, and I would say even conservatives in name only, like people, it's easy for people to bash the left, but the right has totally gone along with this. They've gone along with it, and and I would say probably more conservatives, people who appear conservative, but they like conservatives are not like anti-authoritarian. They're not anti-tyrant. They like people who are like Christians and like not doing crazy leftist kind of stuff. Well, they haven't really been like up on their constitution. They haven't been going to school board meetings or city council meetings because they're just busy raising their family. They're busy, doing their church stuff. And they're like, well, it's not up to me, it's up to God, or something like that. And, God helps those who help themselves. I don't, and because I've I've gone to different conservative states, and once you get there, you realize the governor, even though the governor puts a spin that they're this conservative, they're not. And the school board's been compromised, and weird land management practices have been compromised. And so, and it's just like there's just a handful of conservatives that give a hoot, that are willing to do stuff. And maybe conservatives are too busy, too many responsibilities, too many health issues. But compared to liberals, like liberals do seem to have this nature of being involved in like the the local government or the school or whatever. And and so that's why we're in this mess, because conservatives were asleep at the wheel all this time, it seems to me. And then not only that, it's like conservatives, like, so I'm a pedestrian, so I have to deal with the homelessness. I have to deal with the mentally ill addicts on the sidewalk, where wherever I'm walking or when I'm taking public transportation and whatnot. And I have to deal with the lack of police presence or agency. I mean, not that they were, I don't know. I grew up in New York, and that was the probably the last time there was, a strong police presence that seemed to make a difference in behavior. But even so, there was all sorts of sketchy things that happened when I was growing up in New York City. But anyways, what I have noticed is pretty much everybody who's building, like when I was a kid in New York City in the 70s, 80s, there were construction crews, and there were majority would be Caucasian. There'd be some black people, some Latin American people. But now any construction I see for the past, I don't know, 10 or 15 years has been Latin American people. It's been Mexican people. So builders, who are builders? Are builders progressive liberals, or are the majority of builders progressive liberals? No, the majority of builders, I think, are conservatives. They're just more up on property. Um, I could be wrong about that, but anyways, that's who's doing the building. And like for instance, when I was in San Francisco a lot, there was a huge Filipino community picking a lot of jobs, whether it was service positions or even like kind of um, type of management position. And uh, but they went through legal means. However, they did nudge Caucasians out of jobs. I mean, I so anyway, uh, yeah. What is it? What is this self-loathing that Americans have, and this traitor, this hypocrisy? So Americans seem to hate Americans because they're just like, yeah, come in, illegals. And then some conservatives are like hypocritical too. Like, so liberals are totally hypocritical, but conservatives are like, yeah, liberals are doing all this messed up stuff. But like conservatives have been totally participating in it too. They've been hiring these illegals. They've been benefiting from illegal workers. Farms, like, who's the majority of who runs farms? Was the majority of who runs farms the past 15 years, are those progressive liberals who are in the LBG community having promiscuous orgies? No, these are the people who own farms before Bill Gates got to them and everything. The majority of people who own farms are conservatives, and they're Caucasian. And when I worked at a farm, and I was experiencing terrible abuses, and I was looking into it, and I met this lady who was doing a master's, and she said that the farm like situation is that way, and all these farmers are using illegal workers. And when a farm is using illegal workers, like they're not keeping things up to code. um, it's just so many wrong things. I looked up the OSHA standards at the time, and the farm I was working at, it was breaking like 10 out of like 12 different things on that list. And even when I had OSHA come in, I think the farm must have bribed OSHA, because OSHA tried gaslighting me that I was wrong. and that oh, it was just such a nice place to work. It was such a pretty place. All these abuses you experienced didn't really matter because it was such a pretty atmosphere. I mean, it's just so sick. And I'm an American who was working, who was legally an employee, and I got gaslit. So when you have people who are illegals, who like, because farmers, when you have illegals, it's like it's not even as good as slave labor is, because when you have a slave system, there's standards, there's expectations. Um, but when it's illegal, everything is like it's secretive, so anything can happen. Uh, they can, when a farmer has enough land, somebody could die and they just go get just bury them in a ditch somewhere. It is not, put them in the compost pile or something like that. Like it's pretty, it's logically easy, and like farmers are not the mentally and I'm talking about progressive liberal farmers that I knew. Like they were total schemers and manipulators, and they were not in it to heal the earth and do the earth a good turn. They were opportunists, and there's a fair number of them. And I think like a lot of people who buy, at the at the farmers market or at a CSA, they assume that these farmers are benevolent people. No, these are business people who found their niche, and they're exploiting gullible idealists to pay for overpriced food that was ill-gotten gains, in my opinion, because farming is extremely hard labor. It's bad working conditions. It requires just so much physical labor, energy, effort, and and farmers are not interested in paying sufficient amounts, I think, or that was my experience. And so they hire illegals, or they try to get people who are working through that willing workers on organic farms, ATRA. Like they try to get, try to call um, extreme hard labor some type of apprenticeship. But an apprenticeship is where you're learning, and extreme hard labor is where you're, just being, extracted. Every amount of blood, sweat, and tears is being extracted as if it's their due, as if they're doing you a favor. I mean, so, anyways, it's just a strange, ironic situation that we are in, and it doesn't seem like enough people are willing to look at it. So I just wanted to bring it to mind. Thanks for watching. God bless.